Welcome to She Blaze, where we're bringing you cannabis culture from a woman's point of view. And as always, here to elevate the cannabis industry. I'm one of your hosts, Ice Dawson, Cannabis Socialite.
And I am Dasheeda Dawson, the WeedHead.
Hey, WeedHead. On today's episode of She Blaze, we have a special guest, Ayanna Lawson, owner of Front Row Travels. She is a travel specialist breaking the stigma of cannabis use through travel and education.
Hey, ladies.
Thank you for joining us.
How are you?
I'm doing well. So tell us all about yourself real quick. Let people know what you're doing, where you at.
I'm Ayanna Lawson, owner of Front Row Travels, a full-service cannabis travel agency in Maryland, and I cultivate travel experiences for medicinal and recreational users to cannabis-friendly locations all around the world so that they may learn about and consume it openly, freely, and without judgment.
Yes, girl. Hey.
I try.
She doesn't say this, but she is also a National Cannabis Festival winner. And so I am very excited always to bring people on that we've
I was going to end with that.
That's all good. I got to start with it because listen, you did a great job. And I thought I was a judge that year and I thought it was amazing. So welcome to She Blaze, Ayanna. I'm glad to have you on.
I'm glad to be here finally. Yes, I'm excited.
Yay.
So what we got?
Well, if that isn't high enough, of course, I am going to move on into our high of the week. And I'm so excited because I'm back on the West Coast.
Okay.
I got to get out there.
No, being on the West Coast when you are a cannabis patient is like, there are some things, and we'll talk about it, but sometimes just having the ability to really shop and get what you need and make the things that will make you feel better is so important. And so this week, my high of the week is actually 2 strains that I have made into one of my patented WeedHead cannabis cocktails. I love the idea of having a 1-to-1. By that, I mean, 1 part CBD, 1 part THC in terms of the concentration or potency of both. And so I have put together a cocktail of a hemp strain and a marijuana strain, which is, of course, what you can do when you're on the West Coast. There's some select places like where you are, Ayanna, that you can do this too. But where I am, I'm so excited to talk about the marijuana strain first. I got Tropicana cookies. The reason why I went right after that is because it has high in limonene, which is, again, that feel-good terpene. It increases your spirits. It has antibacterial capabilities as well. But there's also beta caryophyllene. I also hate pronouncing the terpenes, even though I'm a molecular biologist, so do not be ashamed. You got to try it and do it. But that is really anti-inflammatory and ensures that, you're really, as a person who's a patient, I'm dealing with my pain issues. And then, of course, my favorite is linalool because it's just very relaxing. And so the combination of those 3 give me everything I need, but it's only about 15% THC, and I like to have a 1-to-1. So I'm actually also smoking on a Bubba Kush hemp strain. So again, Tropicana cookies was the marijuana strain and the Bubba Kush was the hemp strain. And that has about 13% CBD. And it has a lot of terpenes as well, primarily limonene. So I'm doubling up on terpenes, or I'm making them compatible, but I'm also creating a 1-to-1 in my 50-50 mix. And that's what I am high on this week. I'm so excited.
Clearly, we see you very excited, and to a certain extent, sometimes having to put the difference between hemp and marijuana. Technically, they both got doggone cannabis. Right. They got the same mother. So it's really like,
if you're watching us right now, you can see that I'm carrying both. I have about 1/4 of the hemp and 1/8 of the marijuana. And I'm positive people just think, this is marijuana. And the reality is it's just very well cultivated and grown hemp flower. And that's the misunderstanding, is that it's all cannabis and we kind of man-made separated. But guess what? Man-made can put it back together too. And I'm excited about that. You heard it here first. Hemp and marijuana cannabis cocktails in the cloud. I said that on air on purpose because I want to make sure we could go back into the vault. Listen,
like record it,
when it becomes
write it down.
Yes.
LOL. Anyway, let me move on to my high of the week, which is all about cannabis call out culture. And I'm here for it. You know, I think a lot of times in cannabis, because it's not legal and we're battling to fight the man to get it legal, bring it to the States, you know, we don't have the ability to really tell the truth about how shitty people really could be, you know. And so call out culture in cannabis is really important to me. There was the dabbing granny got called out. She has over like 1 million and a little change of followers, and she's this grandma, I guess, that dabs and wears nails, and I don't know, it's just a little out of my aesthetic. So she's not in my algorithm. But when Dasheeda tagged me in the Cannabis Noir post, I was like, oh my goodness. Now, this woman came up to me last year at the National Cannabis Festival while I'm jamming to Ludacris, because you know, I love me. I'm from Atlanta, so rep my city. He was at NCF. And she's like, oh my God, you have the best ass. I mean, she ran across the field to tell me. And I honestly didn't know who she was. I just thought she was another typical cannabis hippie lady, you know, just really just telling me anything. So I kind of just brushed off the comment, you know, like, oh, that's funny, haha. And 5 minutes later, David was looking at me like, you don't know who that is? I'm like, no, should I? And he was like, that's the dabbing granny. So we know that she has a personality that is immediately going to tell you what's on the top of her brain. And it seemed like the N-word was on top of her brain that day. A lot of people came to her defense of her same color. So, you know, they really tried to protect their own within the community, but we're protecting our own. Can't say the N-word. I don't care how old you are. If you're not of African descent, sorry.
Not for you to say.
And we're not gonna let you get away with it either.
No.
It's like her comment really brought out the other races, and I got to see like who supports her, who, you know, what brands. And to me, silence can be deafening as well. So it's like a lot of brands that had the opportunity to speak up didn't, and I'm still, you know, I'm taking note of that. And it's you know, we're not surprised because we know we do this every day. We're not surprised, but I'm just like, it doesn't mean that it doesn't need to be called to the carpet because we know it happens. And I was just, you know, I'm surprised at some of the people that really thought it was okay and like the excuses.
Well, those sponsors still want their money worth of sponsorships, as she charged, you know, she charged about a $500 starting off fee for her sponsorships. So they wanted their money worth.
Well, I don't know. It wouldn't fly in other worlds. You know, at Target, if you're partnering with a partner that isn't upholding the same standard of the company, it's time for them to get the boot. And that is money lost. That's the risk. In fact, in most sponsorship agreements, you will see how your behavior or things that you can't do that are disparaging. And then there's usually requirements around that. I'm sorry, I think that's also just what we got to fix about the legitimacy of the cannabis industry. I mean, we could make that a whole different hot topic, girl. For real.
Ooh, I don't know. She really deserves a hot topic, but maybe cannabis culture call out
leveling up, like, because you know those sponsors don't have that type of agreement with her. I don't believe that.
Even if they all look like her, hippie kind of 1970s stoner with acrylic nails. Yeah, maybe that's what their agreement looks like. I don't see a major cannabis. She's not really sponsored by major cannabis brands.
Gotcha.
She's a little bit still a lower tier level of professionalism. Yes, and influence. So anyway, let's move on to your high of the week.
My high is actually, I got greedy and I didn't save the 10, but last weekend I stopped by Curio. I didn't stop by the actual dispensary. curio, but I got their products. So they make these edible gummies. The mango ginger come as high as 40 milligrams a piece. This one is the CBD THC combo. It's like 20 to 4. This is a lemon honey. This is tasty. And they're like really soft. Oops. They're soft. You could just kind of like let it dissolve between your cheek and gums. But the strawberry basil one that I had last week is a game changer.
So wait, you said strawberry basil, you said mango ginger. I
and
love
lemon.
ginger.
And
Wow,
this is lemon
I'm
honey.
loving these mixes, these combinations, these cocktails.
They are tasty. Like you might taste a hint of weed, but they're definitely strong. The mango ginger and the strawberry basil, I found for me are leaning more on the sativa side. So like I get like 13 hours worth of work out of like one gummy. So I'll, let that settle. You got to fight through the body high though. Like it does kind of hit you with a like, okay, I'm relaxing. But then you start thinking of all these good ass ideas and you start writing and stuff. And it helps me so much with my content. So I'm extra excited about that. I'm always excited about these. Like I do still smoke. These are twisted hemp wraps. These are like $4. I'm on a budget, so I love these. They're easy to roll. They stay fresh. They come in different flavors too. So
wow,
this is by
hemp rolling, not papers, but hemp rolling leaves.
Yeah, I believe so. I'm unwrapping it now.
Oh, wraps.
Gotcha.
Yeah, wraps.
Okay, I like that.
And they're super moist. Like they're not all dry and crunchy like some of the blunts are, and they're so easy to roll and they burn even.
There's also some hemp.
Watching people roll blunts when they gotta lick the whole back of
I mean, watching people, there are some hemp wraps out there too that come out the bag crunchy as well. Because I typically like hemp wraps. And so I'm definitely going to check out Twisted Hemp.
They are always fresh when I take them out the pack. I don't know what they do to them, and they're literally 4 for 99 cents. I get them from our dispensaries.
What is the common store you'll get them, Ayanna?
I only found it in the Starbucks dispensary that I went to. I haven't seen them like with Packwoods or like in the back of gas stations or anything. Here in Maryland, I know they have them in the dispensaries in Vegas as well. So I'm not sure if it's a dispensary thing or they can be at any like cigarette and tobacco store. I would have to check, but like it stays, like I literally just rolled it around here and it stays so easy. Like it doesn't require a lot of spit to seal it. It's already like really moist and they burn even. Like I'm horrible. My husband say I like torch a blunt, but they burn even. They don't really canoe and all that other stuff. I love them.
That's dope. Okay, we definitely got to check those folks out. Well, not we, but you as in Ice.
LOL. Let's just move on to our hot topic because I am not playing with you today. So our first hot topic, we're going to take you guys to the great state of Maryland. The governor vetoed a bill that really could have helped a lot of people. So I wanted to bring this up to the forefront. House Bill 83 would have barred the Maryland judiciary case search from any way showing pre-cannabis related charges before the date of or after the date of October 1st, 2014. So I was very curious because I had never heard of the judiciary case search. And it's a public database where people basically in the state of Maryland can see all the public records of anybody if they have enough information.
And you're going to find that information, Ice. So.
I am, but I don't know if I want somebody to find my information. Hello.
It is so funny because like it's a Baltimore meme kind of running around. Like chances are if she's asked you your birthday and your name, your full name, you've been looked up on case search. It's public record. Like it tells from like contractual public records, so like bankruptcy, torts, any type, like if you owe rent or center money and they got a judgment against you, it shows criminal charges, sex offenders. So we kind of use it as like a little filter, like, oh girl, I found him on case search doing XYZ. But it's still, it does tell like criminal records. On a serious note, it does show everything, but it shows everything without the whole story, if I should say that.
Of
So
course,
like,
yes.
yeah, so it's not like in-depth, but you know, say you have a like fifth degree sex offender or something on there, it could look bad because that's all it says, but it's, you know, because you got caught urinating in public or something like that. So it can be used, I don't want to say for harm, but if I have access to it, it's nothing that you know, an employer or potential employer can look up and see that you had a marijuana charge. I really think the governor missed the mark as far as, you know, vetoing this bill. It could help a lot of people, especially if after 2014 you determined that, you know, it was legal to possess marijuana, or you decriminalized whatever it was. And Ice, you could touch more on this. I think the bill has specific language as far as crimes or something.
Well, the governor wanted the bill to have more language around crimes. The governor wanted it to address violent crimes because he feels like Baltimore City's had over 300 murders this last year and then the year before. And so he felt like we should be focused on violent crimes and not trying to figure out how we could do marijuana justice.
That's the problem I have with what he's thinking, is that he's not really acknowledging what kind of damage has happened from marijuana being prohibited. I also wanted to clarify, just in terms of this particular bill that he vetoed, that essentially it is anything before October 1st, 2014, meaning if you were arrested in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, all through the war on drugs, and it was for possession of marijuana, then it should not be included in this type of search. That's not really anything to do with violent crimes. I feel like this is the example of some politician or politicking. If you want to, you know, dodge a question, you're like, let's just worry about another issue. It could be, and like removing those things, and yes, being more clear about those violent crimes maybe in this particular case search, because like you said, it will tell you what the person did by the name of the statute or whatever, but it doesn't actually say, you know, the story. But one doesn't have anything to do with the other. By to this governor, I don't know what he's thinking by utilizing it. And you know, lately what I found is there's been a lot of I don't know, sidestepping by these politicians when it comes to doing the right thing. It was illegal before, and it was racially biased in the implementation of it. Baltimore probably has, you know, quite a few millions of people that have been arrested for possession alone, similar to in New York City. It's important for us as we build the industry to protect people, and that means being real mindful of what they've been harmed. And this, to your point, as an employer, is easy to say, nah, he had possession. Oh, no, 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 no. Oh, it's a drug-related charge. Oh, no, 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 no. You know, and I think it's important for Larry Hogan to understand that that doesn't have anything to do with whether or not we are also looking at the more violent crimes. Possession and violent crimes don't go in the same sentence.
And the bill specifically says, you know, it's only marijuana related charges. Like it kind of spelled out. So I'm not sure, like you said, he just wanted to kind of make the connection to, you know, automatically equate marijuana with violence and things like that. And we all know that, you know, it's no direct connection at all.
That's the myth.
Yeah. And I also think the governor has a vested interest. He has family that owns or part owners of some of Maryland's dispensaries. So I think he just has like this vested interest in keeping, you know, I guess is as hard as possible for us to get in the industry as he can, or, you know, kind of further victimize or like demonize the legacy market and keep those individuals out of, you know, the I guess legal space. But
can I be real? He's demonizing the consumers, right? At the end of the day, here's the thing. My last thing I'll say about this. people forget that possession means these little eighths in the quarter that I just talked about, but particularly this eighth of marijuana could get me put in a lot of jail time or incarceration time as a result. In fact, people would probably look at this and be like, oh my God, that's such a large amount just visually, because most people are looking at it, you know, dime bags and thinking, oh, that's a small amount. And I could be put away for a long time. I could be accused of all types of
drug trafficking
charges, right? Drug trafficking. And it's bullshit. It's actually not real. And so I will say that when we continue to criminalize or demonize people who have possession of cannabis, you start to cannibalize, that's a lot of eyes, but you do start to cannibalize the actual consumer base. People don't, especially people of color, we're not going to want to buy from the legal market and being caught holding, period, because it's still a stigma associated with it. And that stigma will continue as long as we put it in your face and make sure that everybody still knows about it. I'm not saying that, you know, it's not important to understand who's created or made violent crimes, but just possession alone is probably a consumer of the very dispensary that his son-in-law, whoever is family related, is actually owning. So they're shooting themselves in the foot. Big time.
Yes, I definitely agree. That is some tea that you really dropped on air. It is hot, 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 because I do not believe a lot of people know this. So we might have to create a series around this type of stuff, because I'm about
Connect
to
the
go
dots, Maryland.
dive in. Yes, I mean, it is crazy when, first of all, they technically should not be even allowed to have any type of cannabis, anything, because they have someone that is directly in charge of creating, or not creating, but signing into law cannabis related things. So I don't know. I feel like that there needs to be some Supreme Court, you know, FBI look at there, but that's just me. And I will say that the House is not surprised, because he has been vetoing a bunch of things of lately, because he feels like the House isn't listening to him about certain things that he feels like should be coming across his desk. And ultimately, when he responded to the House and legislation, he let them know that, you know, he wants a comprehensive crime package. That's what he wants. So he's ready to police us.
Oh my God.
Yes.
He is big on militarizing our police force here in Baltimore City. And if you've been following our police force, though, they're one of the most corrupt in the country. It's not just me, it's come down from the DOJ. The entire gun task force, that whole fiasco, that was just 9 officers that got arrested, charged with everything from racketeering to assault to theft to everything. That's just 9. I guarantee you there are more in Baltimore City Police Department. But they keep wanting to militarize them to keep brutalizing our community. Like, that's a whole other episode.
No, I definitely agree. But a part of this is a part of the cannabis industry and the things and loopholes that we have to jump through as far as dealing with different government officials. And so let's push it to the second hot topic, which still is dealing with government officials, but this time he ain't veto it, and that should have been vetoed. So cannabis was banned in California. Cannabis party buses were banned in California. No commercial driving vehicle is allowed to have any type of cannabis consumption being done. So if you are in a luxurious limousine, a Sprinter, a big 30 plus party bus, you are not allowed to consume cannabis, even if you went to go get cannabis, even if it's a cannabis related event. And it's very unfortunate, because this is just another loss of revenue, even though you have to pay so much money to even join the industry. So California's governor, Gavin Newsom, signed a bill called AB 1810, which prohibits cannabis smoking on commercial party buses, limousines. And he did it at the protection of the drivers, because a very popular association for commercial drivers pushed and lobbied to protect their chauffeurs and drivers after they had already banned cannabis use when it first got legalized. They banned it. They just was like, nope, we're not even going to pretend like we care. And then they started to lobby, and they got their bill signed, okay?
They're stupid. I mean, let me be real, because they're losing all types of revenue. And let's be honest, I mean, before I even got to the cannabis industry, and I'm not trying to put anybody out there, but party buses are a party bus, right? Like, we got people doing all types of crazy stuff, and cannabis is the least of it, to be perfectly honest. I definitely think that, you know, we've had our own experiences, as you said, in Colorado, where we are clearly putting on events and we are participating, and the party bus is a part of that. We're transporting people. We've done it multiple times in conjunction with our various initiatives, and no issue at all. In fact, I've done this both in the cannabis industry and not, and I still haven't run into any impaired driving or issues as far as accidents. I've had crazier drivers in the non-cannabis world going to Dorney Park, right? And you were like, whoa, what's going on? What you doing? I definitely think it's interesting that we're still creating a lot of laws based on bro science and fear. Do I believe in this idea of secondhand smoke for cannabis? Yes and no. And I actually should say no and yes. No, in the sense that this idea, you always were told that I'm gonna get a contact high. Scientifically, you know, the person would literally have to be blowing the smoke right into your mouth, into your nose. And you would have to be in a non-ventilated area, very small square space, as well as many people smoking at the same time. And so there's a couple different things, and for a prolonged period of time. And even then, I still feel the person is probably going to have a minimum exposure high. This idea that because other people are consuming, that all of a sudden this person is just going to be like high out their mind is crazy. But I then have to ask Ayanna, I was like, what about the fact that we could also do some augmentation to the bus or the vehicle to make sure that that is not even going into the driver's area?
It's like states don't talk to each other, or I have no idea, because in Colorado, it's very possible. We were on, I think after we did the sushi and joint rolling class, after you roll your joint, you want to enjoy it. They want you basically to like smoke an appetite for the sushi. So we hopped on a party bus. It was like a 15 or 20 passenger van. And where you would normally see the driver up front has like a piece of plywood. They outfitted basically a moving outbox, hot box, and we were able, it was like 24 of us on there, so it got a bit overwhelming, like all the smoke, but the driver was completely fine. So I don't, it's interesting that they don't see that far ahead. Like you said, it's missing revenue. Like, you kind of kill the vibe, and you know, people do wind up going to Colorado versus California, or they will go to Vegas if you start taking these little nuances and make an experience, you start taking that away, you don't really have a tour. Like, if I can't travel in style and go to, arrive by limo, or, come from LAX by limo and go to MedMen and do all this lavish stuff, it kind of kills like the whole thing, and you're missing a lot of revenue. That's interesting though. Like, did the driver say why? It has to be something. Why would you lobby?
Well, I mean, lobby, big tobacco to a certain extent lobbies for things, but they own mass licenses. So what we even talking about right now,
Sometimes it's really
crazy.
just about positioning. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, yes, but ultimately, they feel like they want to protect their chauffeurs and their drivers from really taking a risk of being in accidents or avoiding impairments. That's literally the reason. But I'm glad you guys brought up revenue, because our third hot topic is about cannabis tourism, and it's helping the revenue in the state. So I want us to go to hot topic number 3, because I think this would just be an even better rounded conversation, because we now can compare a Colorado or a Washington, which has seen a lot of revenue due to people wanting to come through and use cannabis in that area. And with Colorado having the ability to have party buses, they're seeing more revenue than California will see. And it's Cali. Everybody want that Cali back. So ultimately, we did use a party bus in Colorado that was called High End Transportation, and it was Black owned. It was really lovely. We used them, I think we used them twice. We really enjoyed them a bunch. And we've used different party buses, other brands, and I would say High End had the best customer service. We really enjoyed it. And they let us, like, even though we had a plan, we were like, but can we stop here and see this? And it was like, yeah, you fine. We really appreciated that customization. So
I agree. I loved, just shout out to Peel, who is one of the founders of High End Transportation. And I know that they're trying to expand, but it is one of those things where you prevent a company like that from being able to easily move into other markets. And in some ways, just to kind of piggyback what you asked, is why would somebody lobby against it? And you're right, like some of this is just arbitrary, right? Some of it just is. But the idea of potentially having a high-end transportation that's never been in the luxury transportation business necessarily. In that case, they had, and are now coming into a California market because they have Colorado following and brand building, and they can now get a license or participate in the market in California and be a name people ask for. It takes money out of the pockets of the people who have already existed in the market. But like, again, I just want them to stop fronting like they're not picking up these big celebrities and they're not lighting up as soon as they get off of a flight or a private jet. They are. And it's just a matter of, some of it is don't ask, don't tell. And now they put themselves in a position where it really is don't ask, don't tell, because it's now against the law. But yeah, this money that can be made, this money from being able to do tourism, I've been talking about it forever. I have a chapter about this in my workbook, How to Succeed in the Cannabis Industry, which is now an Amazon bestseller. So of course I had to shout that out. And that's also one of the reasons why I was so impressed with Ayanna's pitch at the National Cannabis Festival, because of this opportunity. And I'm just looking at these numbers that I said, and I was like, oh my gosh, these are numbers in corporate America we die for, that type of increase. Anything over 1.5, 2, if you lucky, percent growth over the previous year, you're like, or the previous month even, it's like, that's really high. So these states are really benefiting.
Yes, so it's so funny. Researchers out of Berry College in Georgia would compare hotel rates between Colorado and Washington post-legalization trends to other non-legal states. And so in Colorado, after legalization, they saw bookings increase up to 6% to 7.2%, which is, like you said, that is a game changer. Washington wasn't as big, but it still saw some increase in revenue. Now, this is really important because if you are in a major airport hub, and people are flying through to join and connect, they're like, oh, let me stop in Colorado for 2 nights and just, enjoy the cannabis vibe. And, oh, by the way, this bus could pick me up and I could buy it, chill, smoke it there, and then go book into my hotel after that. Because, a lot of times you can't really smoke at the hotel. Just in general, it's not a casino. So smoking cigs is not even a thing either. So it's like, we get it. But thank you for letting us have a safe space to consume with the party bus.
Absolutely. Like, I think people are starting to realize that cannabis can really enhance a vacation. So like, you go to all inclusives for the drinks and everything and just kind of be gluttonous for a few days. Some of these, some of the legal, the recreational states and medicinal as well, afford you a way to enhance your vacation. I mean, because places like Hawaii are legal medicinally, Alaska, is recreational. Like some of these places sell themselves. Like they're gorgeous without it. Arizona, you could go do a whole spa wellness retreat thing around there. So people are starting to realize it's like a 2-for-1. And that's on the recreational side. But then you also have like medical tourism was a thing before cannabis. So like plastic surgery or life-saving surgeries and, Cuba, other places. Now you could consider cannabis travel also part of the medical tourism because there are so many strains that you can't get, say, on the East Coast that you could get on the West Coast or more readily available. There are more holistic doctors that's willing to work with you on your different paths from Western medicine than it might be in, say, I don't want to say Oklahoma because they do have a pretty good, I
They
guess
do have
hemp
a
or cannabis
nice
program.
cannabis medical marijuana program. I said they do have a medical marijuana program. That's pretty dope, but might not want to get your teeth done there,
No. So you got to pick and choose where you want to, and that's just the U.S. locations. Of course, there's worldwide locations like Jamaica, Amsterdam, Uruguay, South Africa. There's a lot of other places that are far, if the U.S. don't get their stuff together, they're going to get left behind because we're between Canada and Mexico, and they're not, things kind of got put on hold with the COVID thing, but they're going to start making legislation soon, and the states are going to, border states might do well, but the U.S. is missing out on a lot of money, dragging their feet with a lot of policies, a lot of, just things that like the party bus thing, decisions that's shooting themselves in the foot. They're, really just missing the ball on this. But I'm excited to see where cannabis tourism takes off too, because a lot of people think it's just kind of like Airbnbs and other tours, and you could do a lot more. Like you can, like you mentioned, going to regular hotels, all inclusive resorts. Like it's enhancers and it can be educational.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited. I have like some plans of my own. Like I have my bucket list of places I want to visit myself just in the US. So
yes.
No, that's right. And in 2015, there was a report that was released by Colorado's Department of Revenue that estimated how many percent in the areas were broken up by tourists coming and purchasing cannabis. And in the metro areas, they saw about 40% of their sales come from tourism. And in the mountains where people probably didn't want to go anyway, were made up of 90%. They like, oh shoot, we could smoke in the mountain. I'm gonna do that cabin in the woods.
I mean, we was in Boulder, remember, for one of our events. We got stuck on the mountain during the ice storm. These are places that, I'm sorry, brown girls, I'm not sure that's our first time, but we had brown girls up there. Shout out to everybody that participated in our dinner. That was unprecedented in the industry, to be perfectly honest. And it was only due to the fact that we were in a state like Colorado that we could do something like that in a home. It's an estate that allowed us to do it. Mm-hmm. So you are absolutely right. We are missing out. I can't wait to see what happens with hemp in the Hamptons and, or cannabis in general, as we start looking at these places that people really do enjoy going to. But yes, this is a really fast growing sector.
Well, if they don't hurry up and open up their market, people are going to stop going to them and they're going to go other places. So now you're losing money and all these luxurious things you've built are bankrupt. So to close this out, because I really want to get into this game, you came with all your cannabis accessories and things. So I want to get in the game because we want to know more about your cannabis habits. So on the game time, we are playing. Okay, that's right. Get ready. So we are playing in a game called Smoke, Pass, and Trash. So on this game, either you're gonna smoke the item that you really like and it's your favorite, you would pick it no matter what. Pass it if it's like you let somebody else try it first, and if they like it, you might try it. Or trash it because you're not trying that shit at all. So that is the game, and we are definitely excited to get to know what you want to do.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So let's get started.
Yes, so the first question is, I gotta ask, indica, hybrid, or sativas? Which one you smoking, passing, and trashing?
Well, you can't trash any of it. It's weed. Like, you can't waste any of it. So I feel like this question is a little loaded, but okay.
Okay.
Now I'm a smoker sativa. Like, if you know anything about me, I love sativas. Like, I love getting work done. I'm gonna pass on the indica because I can fall asleep at a stoplight. Like, I don't need any help like falling asleep, and I won't get anything done. Begrudgingly, I'm a trash hybrid because y'all made me pick something, but I'm not really gonna trash it. So that's all.
Put it back in your pocket.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it back in my pocket. Like, whoops, put it right in my pocket.
No, I definitely understand you. Listen, I always trash the indicas because I am like you. I could take a nap in a heartbeat. I'm in a cipher. We smoke 2 indica joints. I'm like, just sleep in the chair,
I got the
chin down.
lean.
So trash that. But I'm smoking my sativas because I'm a sativa diva too, and I'll pass the hybrid to the homie. Okay, so question 2. Infused water, infused juice, or infused wine? Which one you smoking, passing, and trashing?
Okay, because I come from a background of libations as well. I'm gonna have to definitely drink the infused wine. Like, I'm not like, I still drink wine not infused, so that's a keeper. Infused juice, I think I'm a pass that. I don't hate it. Infused water is trash. Like, not regular. Well, I like regular water. Don't get me wrong, but like, I don't like the slice of lemon in my water, like without sugar and lemon. Like, I don't like infused water. I did have a really good one before that is a cucumber watermelon mix or something, but infused water is trash. So
I feel you, girl. Trash that. I mean, it's definitely, I probably would trash juice because I don't drink juice, but I don't like infused water either. So I'm definitely not keeping that one.
juice got a little more flavor. That's why I said I'll pass it. But
True, true. And sometimes it just feels like high fructose corn syrup going down, trying to mask the cannabis taste. It's like,
yeah.
So question 3. Would you hash, live resin, or shatter? Which one you smoking, passing, or trashing?
I've never tried any of those 3. So I don't even
Gotta
know.
change that. Oh my goodness. You
No.
have
Hash,
to try
okay.
some of Dame Dutch's hash.
I was gonna say hash. I'm a keep, but live resin and shatter, you can do what you want with those. I'm so like just edibles, a little smoke. Like, I barely dab. I just need 2 actions or 2 steps. This. That's it.
True.
I can't be like lighting the thing and doing it. I can't do all that. 2 steps. That's all I got in me.
I love dabbing. I do love dabbing, but I also enjoy putting these things in my joint or my blunt. Like, you could put hash, live resin, shatter. Shatter is really good for like a snake in the back grass. You could do like hash balls in your joint. And I mean, it just enhances the smoke so much more. So, if you didn't have the pleasure of getting taught to dab with the Dank Duchess, then yeah, I can understand why you like want to really dab. But there are definitely ways to do concentrate. I should have changed question 3 because I would have did a better job of that. I guess I do assume everyone does concentrates like me.
No, it's okay. I'm just, I don't know. I haven't tried it. Now I got to put it on my to-do list now, though. So.
Well, we gotta
also,
give
just
you
so
a
you
better.
know, if you're not interested in like the blowtorch or whatever, even though again there are elegant ways of dabbing like a lady, they do have like pens that are specifically for concentrates. Whether it's an executive pen from I want to say Dang Fung, thank you. But hey, I've had so many at this point now. But we used to sell the executive pen, so I should know that. But that one works pretty well, and you can put it in there, and that gives you one hit will give you a dab-like experience, so to speak.
Yes. So we're gonna give you we're gonna have to plan a Bud and Bougie sometime when you're bringing your travel groups. Give you guys like a real Bud and Bougie experience, because we learned all about concentrates. And so,
That'd
well,
be
my
dope.
hello. And so my last question is tinctures, sublinguals, or breath sprays. Which one are you smoking, passing, and trashing?
I'm smoking, well, consuming the tinctures. Like I started out on tinctures, so I still have like a love for them. I think the very first one I tried, I underestimated how much the Everclear, the alcohol burns under your tongue. Like I put it, was that the subling? But it burnt like hell. But I kept going back for more. So I love the effect of it. Sublinguals I would pass, and the breath spray is trash. Like I got one from Vegas, and it's, you literally are spraying oil in your mouth. So it's not like, I don't like having oil. You know how like just, you even wipe your pizza off if it's too, if it's too cheesy and the oil comes at the top. So I don't like the breath spray thing. It's just, the one I had was an oil based one. So it was not, ugh.
You can have alcohol-based ones. Actually, all of these, when I think of sublinguals, I'm thinking of the sublingual strips, and I love those,
Mhm.
as Ice knows, because it's like, the little Listerine strips, and you can put it right under your tongue.
Mhm.
Versus a tincture, a lot of times, actually, unless you're getting RSO, which is made with ethanol, I really don't, I'm usually seeing the MCT oil everywhere. And lately, I
Mhm.
have become less and less fond of putting a whole bunch of oil underneath my tongue. And in the
I
breath
did
spray,
not
the
like
ones
that.
that I've tried in Connecticut, for example, were all alcohol based. And in Oregon, they have aerosols. So they have like, kind of like you
The
have
little
asthma,
pumps,
they have
yeah.
that. And it's, one and done. So it's always interesting.
Yes. Well, thank you for playing our
Hey,
game.
you
You've made it
survived.
to the end. Yes,
And
yes, yes. And it wasn't too crazy, too confusing,
no.
hopefully, as I tried to mimic all these drinking games for cannabis trivia games. Um, so we want to learn more about you now that we talked about cannabis tourism. We've got to see what you're like as a cannabis consumer. We want to know all about you and front row travels. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you enter into the cannabis industry?
Um, so like my 9 to 5, I was a lab tech, and I say was because I decided to walk away from that last year. So I'm a full entrepreneur. It's been a roller coaster
How?
ride, but we'll get to that. So I had like a bit of a scientific background, but that's not what got me into it at all. I always was a traveler at heart. Like I remember going up and down the East Coast with my grandmothers, both maternal and grandmother. I mean, paternal and maternal, from everywhere from like Boston to North Carolina. Road trips were our thing. Um, my maternal grandmother actually she was a serial entrepreneur, so I got that part honestly. She owned a video store before, you're not going to remember, but Dasheeda remember, like Earl's video store.
Mm-hmm.
This was before Blockbuster.
Yeah.
I don't
She
know
owned a
nothing
video
about it.
store like the same time Earl's did. She actually was a certified travel agent. Like she always had the travel bug. She belonged to a society, a social society of women that was called La Femzelles, and there's about 12 women that got together and did like trips to the amusement park, got families together. We used to have 2 charter bus full of people going up to Hershey, PA. So it was like always a family travel of some sort every summer. And then about, I grew up. So like in 97, I had my daughter, and it was just like work, work, work. So for like 20 years or so, I didn't even get on a plane, barely got in a car. And I think in '05, so no, about 10 or 15 years. '05, I booked my first trip to Vegas. My uncle was getting married. We were, going out as a family, and I get to BWI, and I start crying because I don't like planes. Like the little me that traveled with my grandmother and flew up to Boston was fine. But as an adult, you start getting all these, start seeing the news and things get in your head. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, oh my God, the plane's going to crash. It's going to all this other stuff. So I'm crying like down a gangway on a plane. I'm terrified. But my family's with me. I make it through, and we fly out to Vegas. The flight back was fine because I knew kind of what to expect. And then we just traveled again every year. So like my 30th birthday, we did cruises. That's when I fell in love with cruises so much that, you know, I got married on a cruise ship. So
Yeah.
it's just always been like, yeah, that was awesome. Carnival has a wedding package that you kind of get married in port here in the US so that your, you know, wedding is officiated by a US official. And we sailed, the sailing afterwards was our honeymoon. Families able to come on the ship and do the whole security thing. So it's pretty dope. So I started working, you know, just being the, hey, can you plan this for me? Hey, can you plan that for me? I'm like, look, it's time I got paid for it. So I started doing traditional travel in like 2015, 2016. And, you know, still, again, just a variety of everything. So it could be a Disney cruise, it could be Disney park excursion or whatever. And then 2018, a friend that I had, and I say a friend because we've never met in person, but she's in Minnesota. She inboxed me on Facebook one day and was like, have you ever considered cannabis travel? I'm like, no, well, I mean, why not? Right. So I started researching it, and I kid y'all not, by like, that was a Monday night, and I used to work 10 at night to 6 in the morning. So it was like 3 a.m. We're on Facebook talking. And by that Thursday, I had set up my LLC, had determined this was something that I really wanted to do and further research. So that's how Front Row Travels became born. Like, I've taken my connections that I've made over the past 4 or 5 years and, you know, still reached out in that travel space. Cause like you always touch on, Dasheeda, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So a lot of these companies that I work with in Jamaica and Colorado, they were already doing transportation. They were already doing tours. So they just added cannabis to it. They still function on the traditional side as well as the cannabis side. And, you know, by me, you know, talking to them like, hey, I have a group of 10, I have a group, just, you know, bringing them steady business has allowed me to either offer experiences that other companies don't offer, or at, you know, you can find it online, but it won't be the same price that I get, just, you know, off of volume and everything else. And just to circle back, you're not going to find these experiences on Expedia or anything like that, because it's not, you know, it still has its hiccup with federal prohibition. But, you know, these are kind of like unique, one of a kind experiences that I'm bringing cannabis lovers. So I'm excited about it. That's how Front Row Travels was
Yay.
born.
Well, we are excited that you are in it, and a way to
Thank
flip
you.
it
And,
into a business
you know,
right quick. I said, way to flip it into a business right quick.
Oh
4
yeah,
days, and you got
it's, you know,
LLC.
it's still a grind, and that's what I don't think people kind of realize. Like, it's still obstacles being in the traditional travel space, because it's still a high risk industry. You know, people cancel trips all the time, chargebacks, all this other stuff. It's still high risk. So to be able to still, you know, provide a service with so many opposition is still, you know, something that I'm extra excited about. And I definitely, I always like to say, I created this space for Black women because we've been, you know, we suffer highest from like stress, anxiety, depression. And we starting to get the science where we know cannabis helps alleviate these same symptoms, but yet it's still like a stigma and disconnect of us getting healthier and everything else. So I try to break the stigma through cannabis through travel and education, and, you know, in hopes of turning this the conversation into a different conversation when it comes to cannabis.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, that is amazing. I definitely, I guess we're Americans, so, you know, we got to have 7 streams of income. So having that side hustle definitely birthed something amazing. So how did you get educated about cannabis, and what was some of your first experiences after the lady messaged you on Minnesota and you were like, you know what, I'm gonna just do my LLC? What was like the first trip like, you know, bringing people to experience cannabis?
It has been quite the roller coaster. So I don't want to say educated, like I stopped learning about cannabis, because I'm still learning. I'll Google stuff, I'll get, you know, publications. I'm always looking at friends' resources at some of their websites and going there. I still go to actual events and expos and workshops and everything. Like, I'm trying to because this industry and the news, that the science and everything that's coming out is always so new. So in order to stay up on the latest, you got to do your research. I mean, because, weed is more than just body highs and indicas and sativas. There's like so much out there. And I found when people find out you're in the cannabis industry, no matter what you're doing in that space, they have like a million questions that just because they hear you're in the space, like even though I do travel, they'll ask me about, and investing in cannabis stocks and things like that. I'm like, I don't
So annoying.
I don't know. It's hard
is.
to kind of like stay in the lane. So at the very least, I research who to reach out to answer my questions.
Right.
So I'm always learning there. What was the other part of your question?
Oh, well, was like after you created Front Row Travels and you got your first cannabis tour together,
Oh, okay.
what was that first experience dealing with other cannabis? Because now you have the ability to meet other cannabis companies. What was that experience bridging people that may know nothing about cannabis with people that have probably been in cannabis for 3 to 5 years?
My first trip, even the process up to the trip, was something of it was something kind of like to behold, only because I wasn't used to running into roadblocks when it came to like social media ads, payment processors, things like that. I ran into that while trying to put together my first trip. So where I thought, this is, I could just go in like I do any other trip and just set it up and PayPal and take the payments through PayPal, put it on my website. No, none of that. PayPal quickly shut me down. It wasn't so much that they found out. I had to go through an underwriting process to get up to their next level of payment processor, because you have like the basic friends and family. And then when you do it as a business, and then when you try to get more, I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but when you try to move through a process in PayPal, it had to go to underwriting. So they do things like look at your website. And I think it may be just travel because it's such a high risk anyway. So having to pivot and find a new payment processor in the middle of taking payments was, something new. Not being to advertise a trip that it wasn't, and I was mindful to not make it so blatantly weed related. You know what I mean? Like I didn't have pictures of the leaf. I knew I had some sense, but still, they, my Facebook ad was taken away. So just some of the things that I missed as a travel, as a traditional travel company, I wasn't able to do, but we pulled it off. I actually had a mix of the crowd, because there's still people that are like avid consumers and they just want to try a new location, try somewhere new, try something new. And they came along, and there's people like, I've never smoked before. And it was fun that everybody had a good time. It was not enlightening, just enlightening, but it was definitely like fun. Like I said, to have people of all,
walks of life.
background come together.
Well, we are coming to the end of our show, so we have to quickly round it out. Unfortunately, we couldn't even get through all of our amazing questions, but we did get a lot of great information. So we want to know, what does 2020 look like for you? And, how can our followers really find you?
Of course, I'm on all social media. So frontrowtravels.com, that's where everything is. Instagram is Front Row Travels LLC. For 2020, I don't have any group hosted tours, but I am doing some small private traveling, like road trips, or maybe Texas. That's a little iffy. I do have virtual bingo night coming up, where some of the proceeds will go to some pretty dope social equity organizations in the cannabis industry. The cards are really just $4.20, and you pay, you win real prizes. We have our 2021 trips up, the Sativas and Safaris, where we're headed to South Africa, the Blazing Vacation in March, where we'll head to Jamaica and Vegas. I want to do an elevated weekend just for business owners. It's been a rough year, so I want to get, some of my favorite business owners together. We, no Zoom calls, no kids, no anything, no work, just a lot of weed, food, and fun. And yeah, that's about it. I was like, just talking to dope women like yourself. Everything's online, so I'm excited to join different lives and interviews and things.
Well, Dasheeda, do you want to give us some final takeaways?
Sure. Well, first of all, I'm definitely interested in the sativa and safaris. I don't know so much about the safaris after watching Tiger King, but definitely the sativa part, whatever country you're doing that in. Yeah, no, I am very excited for you to continue your progress, Ayanna. I mean, after seeing you at Canatake, you have just, done so much. Obviously, I follow you on social media, and I'm excited always to reference you when people ask me about it, because trust me, they do. As always, I'm talking about this all the time, how to succeed in the cannabis industry. I reference this world, and I just want to say congratulations and like onward and
Thank
upward.
you.
We can't wait to join one of these events, and I'll throw it back to Ice to close the show.
Yes, well, we'll definitely have to get a part 2 somewhere along the lines.
Yes.
Because we
I'm
got,
always here.
yes, and we got so much more to talk about and go through. But for our followers, watch She Blaze live on Facebook every Saturday morning, and listen to us anytime on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and subscribe to the WeedHead, okay, to stay up to date on all the things blazing in the cannabis industry.
Thank you, Ayanna. Y'all
Thank you
have a
guys for
great week.
inviting
Okay,
me.
enjoy that weekend.
Thank you. You too.